Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Good evening, all CFNers that are joining us tonight. Jeremy's in the house. Michelle, I hope you got your prize. If you haven't, it's on its way. So again, congratulations. Joe Moore's in the house. Cat McIntosh. Well, we'll be getting to you very shortly. Some exciting stuff going on there. Sally Mitchell's with us. Tony's in the house. How you doing, Tony? Steve Shaw. Will Curtis. There's a new fit. That's a new name. I haven't seen that one in a while. Thanks for joining us, Will. Barry Trache's here. Terry Snyder. Yeah, baby. Pete LeDuc. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hope everybody is having. Hey, Jen. Hope everybody's having a great Monday, as great as Mondays could possibly be. I hope your weekend was great. But never mind last weekend. It's this weekend, right? Easter weekend, long weekend for those who are working. You're either getting Friday off, you're either getting Monday off. I know John's probably going to be out in his kayak. Bill might be doing some sucker fishing. How you doing, Bill? Yeah, you got it, Michelle. Fantastic. Sarah's in the house. How you doing, Sarah? J.R. Paquette. Interesting thing we're going to be talking about, too, when it comes to the outdoor flavors from Bake to Go. And we'll be getting to that really, really soon. But before we do, I have a few birthday announcements, of course. Ed McKenzie just had a birthday. Christophe Valet has a birthday today. Chantal Trache-Larocque is celebrating a birthday. Rob Jackson's going to be celebrating a birthday soon. Mike Perry is also, he celebrated a birthday this past weekend. And Sal Shembri is going to be celebrating a birthday very, very soon. And happy birthday to all of you. Hopefully you had great birthdays and you did whatever it was you wanted to do. And, of course, a few happy anniversaries to mention. Stephen Robertson, happy anniversary to you and your wife. And, of course, to our beloved Tracy and Christina. They're celebrating their anniversary. So great to see all these lovebirds. It is spring. Spring is in the air. Yeah. Look out, though. Make sure you're no, I'm kidding. We'll save that for high school kids. Anyway, again, hopefully all of you are having a fantastic week so far, even though it's one day in. We have lots to discuss, lots to get to. One of which, of course, and I'm, you know what? I'm terrible. I wish I had written it so I could read it. But I think, never mind. I'm just going to bring in Mike, and we're going to talk about Camp McIntosh. Mikey, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Good. How are you, Scotty?
You know what? We've got so much going on, so much to discuss. I know we want to get to a lot of the things that you want to discuss and we want to announce, but it's going to be a busy Monday. Hope everybody's strapped in. They've got their favorite beverage and just sit back, listen, and hopefully you're entertained. How you been? What was your weekend like, Mike?
It was good. I was in Peterborough. Girls had a dance competition, looking out at the water, wishing I was fishing.
Mike, I feel the exact same.
Yeah. It was like The hotel is right on the water, but I didn't even have my rod, so I tried to be a good father and not think of fishing and be present while watching all the performances in front of me.
Well, and we haven't got much to complain about because some folks that are watching here tonight still are dealing with ice. Like Jeanette, I'm sure you still got ice. Lloyd, I'm sure the ice hasn't left your lakes out in Saskatchewan. Jeremy, I doubt you have a thick layer of ice, but I'm sure it's unnavigable with a boat. Corey, how much ice you got out in the West Coast? Probably nothing. Jesse Whalen, how you doing? Scott Stewart out in BC. I know you've got some ice as well. Wow, we got a lot of great names, new faces. This is fantastic. Anyway, shoot.
All right, let's share my screen there. I'll be really quick, but there are some updates. I checked right before I came on. Scotty, how many teams have already registered for the CFN Fish Off? Take a guess.
Well, funny, Mike, I will take a guess, but I have been feeling a lot of messages, whether they're emails or on Messenger. So there is a bit of a buzz. I don't know. Let's say 50 teams.
It's only been up for a week, and I checked just 5 minutes ago. 106 teams have already signed up for this spring's CFN Fish Off. Over 100 teams. Man, we have the best community in the world. Already. So thank you for everyone who signed up. To thank everyone who has signed up, if you sign up before the end of the month, you will be qualified for this awesome prize pack. So thank you for our sponsors. This prize pack can be yours. What's cool is you can win a Shimano combo for catching an 8-inch perch, and you can win this prize pack even if you don't even catch a fish. So this prize pack can be yours to anyone, any team that has signed up. But there's 2 ways to win. You can either sign up and win the early bird draw, or if you go ahead and refer someone, hey, have you heard about the CFN Fish Off? Go to cfnfishoff.com and register. When they register, they'll say, did anyone refer you? And maybe they'll put Scotty Martin or Mike Consul, or they put your name. So if someone signs up and they put your name as the referral, you get another ballot into this early bird draw. So increase your chances. Let people know. Fun, family, fantastic prizes. CFN Fish Off. Register at cfnfishoff.com.
So, Mike, would that suggest that, I mean, my math isn't the greatest, but I would assume there's 212 people who have downloaded the MyCatch app as well?
Not yet. I have a meeting with the MyCatch team tomorrow. We're seeing if our scoreboard can be integrated into their system. So the plan, fingers crossed, we could do it. It's not official yet, but regardless, we're going to have an amazing time. And to answer your question, we have 212 people's ballots into this early bird draw. And some people, like I see Sarah Jinkerson's name there, or I think I saw Jeremy's name there. I see other people's names there that referred them as someone to, you will get another ballot if you refer someone and they end up signing up.
So, well, we've got a few people who have mentioned they're going to sign. Tony Sizanowski is going to sign up soon. Of course, Fishing with Andrew is signed up.
With Adele.
Yeah. Unreal. That's fantastic. I'm speechless already. That many teams. Holy smokes. Incredible.
Yep. That is definitely incredible. And, that is our free tournament. We've been asked by Anglers Atlas to help out with the Multi-Species Madness tournament. If you want to put your money where your mouth is and you're like, you know what, CFN Fish Off is amazing, and I want to take my competitiveness to another level, there's a $2,000 first place prize. If you're interested, go to anglersatlas.com/tournaments. Because we have a multi-species tournament in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Alberta is TBD, but go check it out. All the information is there. And it's very similar to ours, but this one's a paid tournament with some cash prizes. So I know there's some competitive anglers out there that would love the opportunity to win $2,000. You ever won $2,000 for fishing, Scotty?
No, but I would love for it. I would, yeah, absolutely.
Big Jim has. I know Big Jim has.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely his prowess at angling has made him famous, and has managed to pad his nest. But we've got this multi-species madness going on. Of course, Walleye Wars is going on. It'll be running in June. I know they're looking for 100 participants in that as well. We'll be playing that promo on CFN right up until the tournament starts, and hopefully we can help them fill up the Ontario Walleye Wars, because I know it's very popular out west, but this multi-species madness is something that's new to my catch, and we're pretty honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, I see Jesse Whalen's here. He finished, I believe, third or really high in last year's multi-species madness. Sean McLaughlin, another CFNer, he finished first. And so if you look at that leaderboard for last year's Ontario multi-species madness, it's all people who's been part of the CFN fish off. So pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Pretty amazing.
Fantastic.
Now, this is the reason why I'm here today, because we're talking about these online tournaments, but we're going to have a real life tournament over 3 days and 2 nights at Camp McIntosh. And people have been asking, okay, Camp McIntosh, so much closer than Horwood, but how much does it cost? How much does it cost? You know what? I can't go up to Horwood because I can't take 7 days off. I can't take five days off. But if I can do 3 days and 2 nights at Camp McIntosh and the price is within my ballpark, I am there. I know I'm going to be there. I know Scotty's going to be there. I know that there's already one cabin that's already booked, and I think they only have 5 cabins or 7 cabins total. So here is the price, Scotty. Here's the drum roll. It is happening Friday, September 23rd to Sunday, September 25th, and it is only $380 for 3 days and 2 nights.
Wow.
That will give you a cabin, all your meals, snacks. You get a boat and a motor and gas. Gas is included in that price, and we all know how expensive gas is right now. Yeah, gas is included in that price. I believe the best cookies in the world are included in that price, and worms. So come on out. I'll be there. Scotty will be there. Let's do some fishing together, and it'll be near the end of September. So let us know. We haven't put up the registration yet on the website, but reach out to Camp McIntosh directly. Reach out to Scotty and I, and we'll make sure to book you a bed in one of the cabins.
Now, I do have a pretty cool announcement, something that obviously is near and dear to our heart because of our fabulous sponsors from Bait to Go and Outdoor Flavors. But the Shaw family has put up something that will give everyone a bit of incentive. So I want to announce it here. This is the first time I've mentioned it. The legacy members know what I'm about to talk about, but this is really, really cool. The Outdoor Flavors people from Bait to Go have approached CFN, and they want to make an exclusive flavor for CFN. It will include some CFN packaging. It'll be really cool, but it'll be strictly a CFN recipe. And I can't divulge what that recipe is, but we are going to be running a contest that will allow you, the CFNer, to choose what that recipe's name is going to be. So we're going to be making a post coming up this week, and we want you guys, you folks, to name the CFN special recipe. And if we pick your recipe, the Shaw family would love to see you at Camp McIntosh on the house.
Wow.
Yeah, baby.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yes.
I could throw in some Filipino spices in there, and
well, this is the thing, Mike. Like, I mean, as I said, this community continues to just amaze the heck out of me, and the fact that the Outdoor Flavors folks have gone to bat in such a huge way to allow us a special recipe, and on top of that, we are going to reach out to the community to pick the name of that recipe, and if we use it, you're going to end up in Camp McIntosh with us. So make sure if you make a guess, you can go to Camp McIntosh.
Look at that water. My gosh. I can't wait till September, Scotty. It is going to be awesome.
100%, dude. It's some fantastic fishing. And it's right within eyesight of the lodge. You don't have to go very far to enjoy some great fishing, but there you are, right at the mouth.
Look at that.
I know, at the French River. That is the amount of fishing that is available there is absolutely impeccable. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of our OFC Nation folks with us, joining us, and having a grand old time.
2 things I want to mention: 3 days, 2 nights, $380. If you want to spend an extra night, the price is there, so you can stay a little bit longer if you want. And then next week, I got a special announcement, Scotty.
Oh,
because season 1 of the TV show is in the books. Season 2 played last year. Season 3 is coming in June. Season 4. Who is competing in season 4? We have a brand new format. And maybe next week, Scotty, we release who will be competing in next year's TV series. And let's see if we can, maybe get some pictures, or maybe get them on, or maybe have a special Tourney Tuesday so that we can announce who these lucky anglers are.
Right on. Pete, I think you just did. Yes, you do have a few bait to go for sale, camel buffs. By all means, reach out to Pete if you're looking for bait to go outdoor flavor buff. But as I said, this is a fantastic opportunity for not only CFN and OFC Nation, but of course somebody from our community that'll be able to join us on the house if it is your recipe idea that we choose. So stay tuned to that post. Look forward to it, and I look forward to seeing some of the entries that people submit.
All right. Just want to say hi to Jim, Lawrence, and Mr. Barnews. Have a great show, everybody.
Right on, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, bud. Take care.
Peace.
Today's show is brought to you by Seafoam, something that I wanted to talk to you folks about. Seafoam, if you don't know it, it is a fantastic product that allows for, if you have a 2-stroke motor, and it doesn't matter if it's an old style 2-stroke or a newer style, the Seafoam is a fantastic additive to clean your carburetor. One thing that has always been a bit of a criticism to Seafoam is that sometimes it will dry out the rings. And the folks over at Seafoam, they were listening to you. And I want to announce a brand new product that has just come out, and we have our hands on it first. It is Marine Pro from Seafoam. This is a marine product, and the best part about this product is it doesn't contain alcohol. So it won't dry out your rings, and it does all the same things that the regular Seafoam did. The only thing is it won't dry out any of your rings. So make sure if you're going to Canadian Tire, have a look. It is Seafoam Marine Pro, and I want to thank the good folks over at Seafoam for setting us up in a huge way with some product. Might be doing a giveaway, upcoming giveaway for Seafoam. So stay tuned to that. And of course, as I mentioned, the outdoor flavor contest that we're going to be running really soon. I want to thank the Shaw family, the very generous Shaw family, for offering up a free stay at Camp McIntosh. And of course, we cannot forget our 4th annual CFN retreat that will be running yet again up at the wonderful and beautiful Horwood Lake Lodge. And I know we're more than halfway to capacity. So if you are looking to go to Horwood, and I'm going to give you some incentive in about 2 seconds. If you're looking to go up to Horwood and experience some fantastic fishing, some great food, and some fantastic memories, all you have to do is thank some of those who have already gone and are going to be going that you're going to see in this video. So take it away, Horwood Lake Lodge.
Hi, I'm Warren.
And I'm Doris.
We have one question for you CFNers.
Are you ready?
Oh, baby, am I ready?
Are you ready? You bet I'm ready.
We're ready.
Ready.
I'm ready. I'm gonna see if my better half is ready. Hey, Tracy,
Yeah.
are you ready?
Yep. I'm ready.
August 15th to the 20th. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of our CFNers up at Horwood Lake Lodge. I absolutely love this place. It is the highlight of the summer, and I can't wait to get back up there and make some more incredible memories. Speaking of memories, let's get to our next guest. But before we do, here is a word from our sponsor. The one and only, the myth, the legend, and everything in between. Big Jim McLaughlin. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing good. It keeps dumping me out. I've had to reconnect like 5 times since you started.
Really?
So I don't know what's wrong with it.
I
Can you
don't
hear
know
me
either.
okay?
Yeah, everything's good, buddy.
Yeah. Maybe it's decided to do its thing. So I missed you last week. We were getting Tammy's MRI done, and I was being accosted at the dog walk park because I parked in a parking lot that I didn't have a dog going for a walk, and I bumped into probably my second or third real life Karen in life. So it was,
Wow.
lady told me I
you
should
know,
parking lot is, I don't know, it's got room for like 400 cars.
Yeah.
It's a dog thing. And I'm parked way down in the back corner. There's two people there. Well, two counting the lady who came over and asked me if I had a dog. And I said, yeah, he's at home. I forgot to bring him. I thought I was being funny because I was at the dog park.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Great news. And hopefully we're going to get some great news soon of our beloved Tammy. But as I said, I know that it's quite the journey. It's going to be a long journey. But again, the entire community has her in our prayers. So we wish nothing but the best.
Well, it's really funny because she, the little place here, I like to bring her for breakfast once in a while. So we went this morning. I brought her for a pancake. She didn't look happy, eh? And
Okay.
I brought her for the pancake, and she looks at me and she says to me, "The hamster's not working in the wheel good today, is he?" Like, so it's kind of funny. So that's become the joke, eh? I'm gonna get a T-shirt made that says the hamster has the day off or something on it. So,
oh, that's hilarious.
fine. Here we are. One's almost crippled, and the other one's not working right. But it's what it is.
Well, you know what, Jim, we thank you so much each and every Monday joining us like you do. It means the world to myself and the community. But we love hearing your stories. Love to hear what you would be thinking if, in fact, you were gearing up and getting ready for a great angling season. What would you be getting ready for right about now? What would you be gearing up for when it comes to your tackle selection? Perhaps maybe redoing some line. What species would you be targeting first?
Yeah, I used to, in the springtime, I used to fish channel cats, Sutton Fierce, because there's a lot of big mean fish. You know what I mean? If you want to get your string stretched, they fight, and they're really easy to target. They're great to eat. You can keep the odd one. You know, I mean, you don't want to be keeping one of those big 12-pound slobs or something. But you get a couple that are around a pound or two. It makes them great eating. They fillet really easy. You can slice the meat right off the side and down the tail. You don't have to gut them, nothing if you want. We used to do that, and they were awesome to eat. But since I moved here, I really changed. My habits have changed. And in the springtime now, I fish for crappies, and I fish for pumpkin seeds and bluegills and stuff like that. I always did a lot of that. I was always like a real crappie freak even before crappies became popular. And it's funny because the other day I was looking at something here, and I was looking in a box of stuff I had in the garage, just one of the many thousands I have kicking around, and I found this little thing, which is called, it's a Lindy, and it was called a What's It. And you can see the way the paint's all chewed off, the eyes are off, everything else, it's all torn up and everything else. We used to swim these instead of tubes. Like, you go out crappie fish, everybody's using an 1.5 tube, 1.25 tube. So like everybody's throwing that. But we used to slide through bunches of boats with something completely different, with little wings and flaps on it, and it would really work. And then we discovered at one point there was a little thing that Berkeley makes called, I think it's an atomic power tube or something it's called. I don't have the package here. But all it is a little weenie tube, but they added a little power bait tail to it.
Interesting.
And we used to use it. It was just something different. And then, of course, I got on to using little creature baits and plastics, which is what the What's It was. But don't just go grab an 1.5 tube and go fish with that. That's like just getting a 6-inch worm to go bass fishing. You know what I mean? You have to branch out and do different things. I'm already absolutely geared up. Jamie sent me some, over some of his trout worms, and I mean, wacky rig and crappie. I mean, that's about 3.5 inches long or something. But you're not going to tell me that with the proper hook, wacky rig, that a crappie isn't going to eat that. He'd suck that in a second. I mean, like they've got big mouths. But my deal, recent years, for big fish, that's what it's become. And I'm so happy that Shimano has some now.
Yeah.
These things are 1 9/16 inches long. It's a 39F for floating, and you can see them. There's not much to them. They're really small. That's chartreuse and blue. The color's not showing up good, but absolutely awesome little baits. I noticed they've been making posts. This guy's catching fish with them just everywhere, just out there. So I get if you're going to be casting for crappies and panfish without a floater or whatever, I'm probably going to use 5 pound Power Pro with a leader on it. If I'm fishing a slip bobber, I'm going to use monofilament because you can't use fluorocarbon. Well, you can if you want to, but the problem is that the line from the rod tip to the float wants to sink into the water. So when you go to set the hook, the water's in the line, or the line's in the water, and it's a pain in the butt. Buy good floats. I can't tell. I see people out there with these 39-cent floats with the spring on the bottom. Buy yourself a really good weighted float. That's a little lead weight there. It's held on by that little ring. And that just makes it easier that your float is always sitting up like so. It also, I believe it makes it go under a little easier depending on the weight.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't know someone's trying to catch them, but if they feel something around their mouth, maybe it's a little bit weird. But you can see it has the brass insert at the top.
Nice.
All the stuff. It just makes everything. It just slides better when you're casting, when your line slides through before the bobber goes down and everything. It just makes it so much better. But like in that case, I'm going to be using monofilament. But a few years ago, I got away from using slip floats. Just before I moved here, when we were fishing crappies on the Big Rito and some of the lakes around there, often the small natural lakes,
right?
We used to cast, and that's all we did. We cast with 5-pound test lines, 7.5 foot rods, with a really fast tip on them. Nice light rods, and that's when we used to use all these little things like these whatsits and things like that. They're really cool. These things got on me so hard that I went out and I found out in the garage here the other day when I was out there, I found, and like I bought these. I had bags and bags of them. You can see the bags are getting old. They're all crinkled, and everything else. I haven't used them for years. They've been sitting out there. But mix it up a little bit. Do something different. And I've already watched here. The ice went out about 3 days ago behind the house here, and there's already guys fishing off the town docks, and they all got a bobber and an 1.5 inch long white tube. And I haven't seen anybody catch anything yet. I think the water's still way too cold actually for them to have gotten this far back. But today was dead calm. This afternoon, tomorrow is supposed to be 17 here. And then we're supposed to get rain overnight. It's really black here, like it looks like thunderstorm territory now.
Yeah, they've got all kinds of tornado warnings down in the States, and of course
do they? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They got some huge snow coming. I was just watching the news, but I hadn't watched the news for a few days. They said it could get 50 to 80 centimeters of snow in
right on the border of Manitoba and Ontario. It's all part of the same storm front, but it's going to dump an incredible amount of rain from what I gather in certain areas of Ontario.
Good thing it's not coming here.
Yeah, not too much of that snow is going to hit us, thankfully. But
I don't too know hot here now.
I don't know about our folks up in Timmins. They seem to be a catcher's mitt for snowstorms. I don't know how much
snow. It's winter. It's Canada.
100%. Well, with it warming up, Jim, Jay Deleuze is asking a great question. What are your go-to lures for monster pike?
Big spoons, bucktail spinner baits, big, like bucktail, like the old Lindy musky tandem, that shaped like a spinner bait style with hair.
Yeah.
I mean, when I went down to Gagnon's there, you saw the box of them I made.
Yeah.
And Justin told me the other day they're almost all gone. People just starve for that stuff, like to have a big old spinner bait with hair on it. They just seem to outperform. There's the typical spoons, swim baits like a rhythm wave, like a 5.8 rhythm wave. So you get something about six inches long with a lighter jig head because you're going to probably be fishing a little bit shallower. And like don't overlook. Anything else you want to use, like big jerk baits, like I say, mix it up. I mean, everybody goes pike fishing. What do? They pull out a Cyclops spoon or a big Williams wobbler or something like that. And, the fish don't remember that that's what they saw last year. It's not that type of thing. But at least I hope they don't. You know me and fish getting smart. I'll miss sleep when someone says fish are getting smart. If they're this hard to catch now, what would happen if they could really think?
True enough, Jay. I would have to.
But you look at it, Scotty, in the weekend in the States here, some of the big tournaments that went on in the States, and you can't imagine guys that fish at that level going 2 days and not catching a keeper fish.
100%. No.
You know, you can't fathom that. You know, we are so blessed here, and I mean, everybody knows. You know, you're down here. The further north you go, the easier the fishing gets. It just
100%.
because there's less people. The farther north you get, you know, guys say, how come you go to Great Bear Lake and you catch 20 lake trout in a day, 30 lake trout in a day? Well, there's what 100 people, 200 people a year fish there.
Yeah.
You know, beyond
Jay-
local.
Jay, to get back to your question, dead bait in the shallows on a quick strike rig.
Yeah,
I
you
would
can
definitely.
do that.
Yeah. Ed McKenzie,
Not
that's a
so
great
much in the
suggestion.
springtime though. Usually, no, it
Yeah.
works, but it's one of those things. You know, it's just
Jeremy
another
loves
thing. Like
using
I
live
said, you
bait.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I personally, Jim, this early in the season, I'd like to keep it as close to white as possible, a bone color. I have to say again, you know, not just because they're a sponsor of ours, but my go-to, obviously not for this size necessarily. I'd like to go a little bit bigger, but like a bone color swim bait, you know, on maybe a 1/4 ounce jig head. Casting up into the shallows, that would probably be my go-to, and I don't know what it is, and again, I'm sure Bruce Tufts will argue the point. I just find that some of the forage base, because it hasn't had a lot of sunlight throughout the course of the winter, they tend to lose their color. They look more white. Obviously, when you get a little bit deeper into the spring and early summer.
This is really funny to hear you say this. When you go up north, I've had several talks with Gord Pizer about this.
Yeah.
When you go up north, you know, further, I'm talking really up north, not Timmins, like the real north. You know what I mean? Way up there, like flying for 2 hours north of Timmins and that. When the pike are spawning in the shallows in the springtime, when they come into the shallows, some of the lakes up there have giant leeches in them, and you could put a live herring on a hook and soak it around them. And there's a chance good chance that they're not going to bother it, that they aren't going to go near it. Gord Pizer put on big black plastic tails and absolutely clobbered them.
Is that right?
In these areas. And black is not a go-to color for him for, fishing for pike that way or whatever. And yet it just goes to show when they get, and it was hard to catch them on the plastic. They get so keyed on forage, that, it's what it is. But I think the same old thing with them in the springtime. I have a buddy that goes up north, and he's got a place in Quebec he goes to, and all he brings up is 6-inch pink swim baits, and he has a buddy that got a mold made, and the guy made 8-inch long pink Senkos, and now they wacky rig pike. It's all they do, and they catch the heck out of them. I mean, like they get the numbers of fish that they catch are stupid. This camp that they go to, they always catch more fish than anybody else. And the guys are all up there throwing spoons and, Cyclops and Williams and big spinner baits and stuff like that. And there's something, we used to call it fishing ugly when we used to pike fish. Put on something that was the ugliest looking, most colors on it or whatever. And sure enough, if you weren't doing well and you knew the fish were there, see, that's the whole thing. You got to know they're there. So when you fish that shallow spawning type pike, a lot of times you see them. Well, if you're throwing something that's silver and white at them and they're not biting it, maybe if you throw something over, like if it ain't working, stop doing it,
Yeah.
You see guys go out and do that, they remember the last big fish that they caught came on a silver Williams, and they'll throw that spoon until they're blue in the face again. And that's why you gotta, don't ever hesitate to switch up. Like give it 10 or 15 minutes at the most. If you know there's fish there, or if you get a bunch follow it, as pike often do, you really gotta look at that. Yeah, I just saw you mentioned about Just Fishing there. It just came up in the banner there. The new one is in the hands of the cyberspace people, and hopefully in the next day or two they'll give us a call and say it's there.
Right on. Jim, we look forward to that issue as well as many, many more, and hopefully some good news from our beloved Tammy. But in the meantime, dude, you stay classy. Thanks so much for spending some time with CFN, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
It's always a pleasure, guys. Everybody be safe out there. But remember, you fall in the water now, it's no different than when you're ice fishing. It's cold.
Absolutely.
You don't last long.
No, 100%, dude.
Be good, guys.
Great advice. Thanks so much for that, dude. All the
Be
best.
good, buddy. Always
Peace.
a pleasure.
Sorry, I cut him off. Oh, he's going to hate me for that. I don't know how many stories I'm going to have to send.
here is a word from our sponsor. Keep in mind, of course, if you have an idea for the exclusive CFN Bait to Go flavor, we will be making a post. Think about it. You got a couple days before we make the post, but here is a word and some incentive for that CFN exclusive flavor from Bait to Go Outdoor Flavors.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Lawrence Gunther's in the house. How you doing, Lawrence?
I'm doing well, buddy. How are you?
Oh, living the dream one day at a time. Just hope I don't wake up.
Yeah, that's funny. I felt like this morning.
Yeah, well, every Monday I think is like that for everybody. Put your hands up if you love Monday mornings. Any day that you wake up this side of the shot is a good day.
Yeah, that's it. Just got to get it going. Get that foot out of bed and on the floor, and there you go. There's your start.
100%. Well, you've been busy this past week with Bluefish Radio and some of the discussions that you've had on Bluefish Radio. Namely, obviously, you've been in some, I would say, lengthy discussions in regards to some of these areas, these safe areas. Give us a little bit more insight on that.
Well, okay, so a little background. Marine protection areas, or MPAs, is what they've been called for quite a few years now. And the notorious one along the coast of California, the inshore fishery that California put in place, not federal territory, but state territory. And they said they would get back to it in 5 years and do the science. And then they never had money. So another 5 years went by and they still didn't do the science. They said, we're not going to do the science. It's just no fishing. Everyone seems to be happy with that. Everyone except all the anglers and guides and outfitters and tackle shops. They weren't happy. They got totally ripped off, man. A whole stretch of coastline along California is just no fishing. Now, that got a whole bunch of us thinking and talking to the federal government here in Ottawa 4 or 5 years ago, writing articles and presenting and bringing in experts, and really worried because the rules around MPAs and Parks Canada and DFO were being discussed and adjusted. We're saying, well, look, okay, no one's against doing something to make sure the fish are going to be around for the future, but it's all got to be based on evidence, scientific evidence, not just feelings or ideology. Okay, so skip ahead now. The federal government, just like they have in the United States, has committed to protect 30% of our oceans and 30% of our terrestrial territory, including freshwater, by the year 2030. So you cannot do that without touching the Great Lakes. There's a couple of these, what they call national marine protected areas in the Great Lakes now. There's one around Thunder Bay at that end of Lake Superior. There's one on Lake Huron. And they've been around for 10 years. They're very pro-fishing. They're not anti-fishing at all. And now there's a group that is trying to get one together for the East Basin of Lake Ontario. And they contacted me and said, Lawrence, we want you to know that this is pro-fishing, just like the other ones. This is not anti-fishing. And we want you to help get that message out. And I said, well, I'll get that message out if that, in fact, is the case. But we're going to be watching. We need to be on top of this. And if anyone who's watching the Bluefish Canada news for the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been putting in little indicators, following what's going on in the United States, because the American Sports Fishing Association, they're dealing with this as well down there. And we need to get together, Canadian Fishing Network, Ontario Fishing Community, all the groups, Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters, Bluefish Canada, and make sure that we're at that table, right? If they're going to start talking about a national marine protected area on the East Basin of Lake Ontario, all the Bay of Quinte and all of that, no one's decided yet on what the boundaries could be, then we need to be at that discussion table. And I've started the discussion already, finding out who these experts are and what they're thinking. But and we can get into a little bit of that.
Well, at the end of the day, when we hear the word restriction, and I'm sure, as an angler or a hunter, restrictions are not a positive thing. right? And certainly not based on what you just said. They're not going to be received as a positive thing with the background history of what has gone on up until this point. And I mean, I'm sure I'm not speaking for everyone, but I'm probably speaking for a good majority that why? I mean, that asks the question why? Why do we need to do this?
Well, that's an excellent question, Scotty. And I asked this question to one of this organization's main scientific advisors, and his name was given to me to interview and have on the podcast. So we have him on Bluefish Radio, and he claims he's a huge fan of fishing. He lives on Wolf Island near Kingston. He loves fishing. He's fished all his life, and so we got into it. And I asked him, okay, what is this going to be? And he said, no, this is not anti-fishing. This is not anti-fishing. He said, in fact, his perception of this is that the fishing on the Great Lakes in general, there used to be a lot of fishing, a lot of commercial fishing. They really took advantage of the Great Lakes in terms of fishing and taking food out of the Great Lakes and feeding people with it. And he said, right now, you've got this huge body of water, this huge inland sea, and it's not even remotely closely being tapped in terms of its potential to feed people, right? Like we fish recreationally, we catch them, we let them go. Some people harvest food. Sometimes there's fish consumption advisories that makes harvesting not such a great idea, or the consumption of fish, it really slows it down. But we've lost sight of the ball here. He thinks that if we can bring more attention to how bountiful the Great Lakes are, and Lake Ontario in terms of fishing is improving, right? It may be the dirtiest lake of all the Great Lakes because it's kind of like the sinkhole of the Great Lakes. Everything flows into Lake Ontario and then out the anus, the St. Lawrence River. But it is still the lake that fishing is just getting better and better. And we see this in other parts of different lakes as well, in the Great Lakes. But he's not suggesting that we have to turn it all over to commercial fishing, but he thinks we should really celebrate that and acknowledge that and encourage people to get involved with that. We hear about this from First Nations communities about promoting, the social and ceremonial and food security aspects of fishing. We should be thinking along those lines as well, because this has been part of who we are for tens of thousands of years. And catch and release is a great conservation tool, and we can't lose sight of that. But we also got to remember that fishing really comes down to it. It's food, right? It's food. And we should celebrate that, and we should be part of that.
And you know what? Sally makes a very good point. You know what? No one likes change, but sometimes it is necessary. And I don't disagree with you, Sally, but when you hear Lawrence talk about boat restrictions and the possibility of bringing up commercial fishing, to me, they don't go hand in hand. I'd like to say, as an angler, I would be really upset that my waters and where I have access to those waters is going to be restricted in favor of commercial fishing.
Oh, for sure.
And when it comes to Lake Ontario, not to say that, no fish in Lake Ontario is viable, but I'm just concerned that, a fish like, say, lake trout, we're going to start targeting that commercially. And I'm sure a lot of folks have concern about eating lake trout out of Lake Ontario that's been around for a while because of all of the toxins that are present in the fatty tissue of these fish. So how viable is the commercial fishery, or the possibility of a commercial fishery in Lake Ontario?
Well, that's another terrific question. And I just happened to interview yesterday at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning a scientific technician that worked for 2 years for the St. Lawrence River Institute for Environmental Science, and explored exactly that. Where are the fish consumption advisories now? Where were they? Where do they need to go? How are they set? And we just dug into the whole back end of setting these fish consumption advisories. And are they realistic? Are they relevant? Are they being, are people following them? And, how do we move away from them? All of these questions, right? So there is a multi-part, lots of discussion that has to happen on this question. Okay, here's another stat I want to share with you. I'm in regular contact with the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission, and they have on their website, it's a binational organization. They say there's the fishery of the Great Lakes is worth $7 billion US. So it's at today's exchange rate, that's about 8.75 billion Canadian. That's both sides of the border. That's what the fishery is worth on the Great Lakes. You know how much of that is made up of commercial fishing? I did the math and I got this number out of them. About 2.8% of that $8.75 billion is made up of commercial fishing. So about $250 million of fish are taken out of the Great Lakes and sold commercially. The rest of that money is what recreational anglers spend to go fishing. And I asked, so how much are the fish worth that we're catching out of the Great Lakes? No idea. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we had that number as well? Look, this is no surprise to anybody, and maybe a few people, but recreational fishing is worth 98%, 97% is recreational fishing. You can't ignore that. You can't just take that and say, we're going to turn this around and give it all to the commercial fishing. No. Recreational fishing is huge on the Great Lakes, and it needs to be bigger. It needs to be celebrated. It needs to be safeguarded, and it needs to be acknowledged. And we're doing very little of that. You read that Great Lakes Fisheries Commission website, and you would think it's all commercial fishing, the way they put that out there. But it's not. And they understand that we need better numbers on the recreational stuff. Absolutely.
I think you're 100% right. Not to mention, of course, the financial impact that it brings to the communities. And let's face it, there's a lot of money spent on targeting salmon in the Great Lakes, especially Lake Ontario. But it's interesting you say that about commercial fishing. And Jeremy, you bring up an interesting thing about pike being sold commercially. The concern I have is, of course, with all commercial operations, and this isn't a slight to them at all. It's what happens is the bycatch, and targeting pike would be fantastic if you could. The problem is how much of the other species are you going to be targeting as well? And unfortunately, bycatch is bycatch. There's a reason they call it that, because we all know most of it anyway ends up. So there is a dangerous double-edged sword to that idea. But Jeremy, there is an awful lot of you're 100% right, and that is a very viable meat source for a lot of people. But that's interesting stuff. Lake Ontario, hard to believe that it is an underutilized fishery.
Oh yeah, and here it's underutilized. Like this scientist absolutely believes that we've barely scratched the surface in terms of the fishing potential of the Great Lakes. We just ignored it. We should be nurturing this. We should be, encouraging this like they are in the United States with hatcheries and recognition and money. It's not just a big puddle of fresh water that we have to stand back from because we're afraid we might contaminate it with this or that. No, this is a huge, 20% of the fresh water in the world is right there in the Great Lakes. It's the biggest collection of fresh water, surface fresh water anywhere in the world. And we don't even, exploit it properly. We don't manage it properly. We don't think about it in that way. We just think about it as water. It's not just water. It's a whole fishery. So here's my last point on this, Scotty, and is what do you get if you draw a line on a map and you create a conservation area, protected area, and you say, okay, all the fish inside the circle are going to be safe now, and all the fish outside the circle, well, too bad for you. Look, we know there's, on the Canadian side of Lake Ontario, there's 4 areas of concern. There's Hamilton Harbor, there's the Toronto metropolitan area, there's Port Hope Harbor, and there's Bay of Quinte. Those 4 areas on the Canadian side of Lake Ontario are all noted and documented areas where there's high levels of toxicity because of previous industrial practices, right? So, yeah, you can clean that up and get rid of some of the PCBs and mercuries that come out of those areas, and they're working on it. But you get back to this whole idea of a circle on a map and the fish in there being protected. So say you clean up the Bay of Quinte and the area of concern there. Are those fish going to be now, clean and healthy and free of contaminants? No, because it's a lake and it's connected to the other lakes and everything flows through. And we're still having all sorts of thousands of points of contamination going into the Great Lakes from farming, from industry, from sewage, from septic, you name it. It's all around. We need to clean up what's going into the Great Lakes, not just pick a spot, not just one small area and think, well, we'll protect this area and they'll be fine. And the rest of it, well, we'll get to it. Now, that's not how this is going to work. Not in any stretch of the imagination.
100%. Well, Lawrence, you bring up a great discussion, and I'm sure folks that will have heard this and will be hearing it in the coming week will certainly have a lot of, I would say, mind-sweeping thought, because let's face it, this is an issue that is definitely prevalent going forward. We have a lot of mouths to feed, and we had actually a discussion on the Legacy chat this past weekend. The price of fish is going through the roof. So yeah, I mean, let's face it. I think it should get back to the old-fashioned way of things. We should get out there and enjoy a day on the water and fish for dinner. That's my advice.
Yeah, I agree. Just watch the fish consumption advisories and do it with the science in mind, and you know what fish are out there and which ones are sustainable. Look at the regulations; they're there. They list those numbers for a reason, because it's doable. Amen. So yeah, have at it and celebrate it and hold your head high, knowing it's totally fine to do that. It's totally 100%. Fine to do that.
100%. Well, you know what, Lawrence, thanks so much again for joining us this Monday and every Monday. And of course, we look forward to seeing you next Monday with another edition of some I would say, just stuff that will allow you to think outside the box when it comes to what is going on with our fishery. We love you for it, Lawrence. Thanks so much.
And you guys share with me too. Like, I need to hear from you guys too, what you're thinking on this stuff. So, get to the Bluefish Canada website, make some, or send me an email, message me, whatever, director@bluefishcanada.ca. Give me some tips on who we need to talk to. We need to paper this process with positive and informative and science-based factual information about the value of recreational fishing.
100%, dude. Thanks so much for that.
Thanks, man. Thanks,
all
everyone.
The best, Lords. Take care.
You too, buddy.
And here is a word from Jay's sponsor, who's coming up next.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
Jay Dog's in the house. How you doing, Jay?
Good, Scotty. How are you doing?
Oh, bud, I tell you, what a show. Lots of great stuff, great concepts, great conversation, great discussion. I love some of the comments that I'm seeing pop up here in the comment section of the broadcast. But I love the interaction. You know what, folks? Don't hold back. As I said, if you've got a question, you've got an idea, concept, no question is a bad question. So by all means, throw everything at us. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, no, it's always good discussion, man. And it's some of these topics can be seen as controversial, but we have to have those hard discussions sometimes, right? So
and I can't. Like the three of you are so professional when it comes to how you approach it. Obviously, all of us walk the line, and sometimes we may cross it. So if we do offend anybody with some of the suggestions or thoughts that we may have, we apologize up front. But at the end of the day, it is about having a discussion. If you're not talking about it, you're stewing about it, and no point stewing about it, because that only just leads to more anger and misinformation.
Yeah, and you know what, Scotty? I think too, some of this stuff, it's cliche to say it, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, man. And if we come out too hot and heavy and we get too ticked off about things up front, because there's people on every side of every discussion who, you're on this side and you feel this way, and then someone else on the other side of the coin just as passionate as you are, and they can't have more opposite thoughts than what you have. And when it comes to these types of things that Lawrence is mentioning tonight specifically, like you got to find common ground, right? That's the only way you're going to resolve this. And you always want to try and find, like you always want to have unanimous decisions. It doesn't always work out that way, but you want to push to have unanimous decisions, especially when it comes to resource management, right?
100%. And you know what? Let's face it. For the most part, I'd like to think that we try to get it right. I love the fact that they are starting to sponsor, the anglers' voice and allow them to have a larger voice at the table. They certainly have come to us with open forums. They've allowed us to join into some of their broadcasts, whether it be a Zoom discussion or some of the presentations that they make, say at Muskie's Odyssey or at the Spring Fishing and Boat Show. So there is a lot of discussion, a lot of angler input, and the fact that again, I can't say it enough, the MyCatch app and allowing us, the angler, to be a part of the science, it's amazing. You know what? I think we're in a better time now than we've ever been.
Yeah, I'm excited to use the MyCatch app more. Kudos to you and Mike and a couple others. We had that call a few weeks ago. I was actually driving home from the Sportsman Show in the van, doing my Zoom with the camera off and sitting in traffic. And, it was good to have a good, healthy discussion about, the pros and cons of using the app. And again, not everyone's going to agree with me on this, but I think that MyCatch app, if we can find a way, and I know this year will be a real test, but integration with the CFN Fish Off, that's a valuable tool for all users. And let's face it, fishing tournaments are going this way now. It doesn't matter what species you're after. These catch photo release tournaments or catch video release tournaments, this is where we're going. This is the industry now. With Trevor's new interest in kayak fishing, and I've been doing lots of reading up on it, mostly out of pure interest, not just because of my son being interested, but I have a personal interest in it. And I'm going to tell you, like these apps that are being developed, and I know it's not for everybody, but this is where we're headed. And so I encourage all anglers out there, if you want to participate in these events, get used to using these apps and collecting this information, because that's where we're going. That's where it's headed.
I know I've heard it in a movie. I've heard other people mention it, adapt or die. And at the end of the day, when we as an angler have been beating our chest, pounding the door, pounding the wall for so long to have our voices heard, and these apps allow us to have that voice, that platform. If we don't use it, we're doing ourselves a huge disservice. And I understand the privacy issues, the smartphone issues, the connectivity issues. Yes, they're all great concerns, great questions. But if you're free like myself and Jay, and you have no issues in regards to your privacy in terms of thinking that whatever you submit on the MyCatch app is going to be used in a negative or non-positive way, just reach out to either one of us, and we will make sure that we dispel the notion that they're going to give away your hotspots. They're going to give away coordinates. It's just not the case. We all want to learn, and over at MyCatch have hit it out of the park, in my opinion, with that app.
I think what's really important to mention is that when we had that call, and I'm as guilty as everybody else. So my winning crappie, which I thought would get beat, 13-inch crappie is nice, but it's not a giant. And I thought it was going to get beat, Scotty, and it wasn't. But I should have been cataloging every single crappie that I caught through the contest. Every fish catch counts for their data set. And, I think what's most important here is for anyone who's listening to this episode, and maybe mention this in the next few weeks as we gear up for the Fish Off, make sure that they're using the MyCatch app on their regular fishing trips, because the app works exactly the same way. It's like practice. You got to go, you're going to pre-fish your spots, but you're going to practice using the app, because then when it comes down to game time, you're not going to have any challenges. That's my thought on those who are skeptical about using the app. And every app is different. I've learned how to use it, but what's great about it is I was able to log in with 3 different accounts. So I had myself, Trevor, and Stephanie, And all I have to do is just go in, toggle a button, and Stephanie's loaded. And she was able to take her own pictures and do her own catch. You know, she's 12, right? Yeah. So, you know, I think it's a great exercise for us right now, in a great way to get everyone engaged.
Well, 100%. And as Steve said, technology is a key. It is a key. I don't know it is the only key, but it's certainly a big key to creating a sustainable fishery. And Corey, you're not alone. Like, everybody has that. Not everybody. There's a good majority of folks that have that opinion. All I'm trying to say is we have picked an app that's not going to do that. So I can't speak for all apps, but I can certainly speak on behalf of the MyCatch people and the Anglers Atlas folks that put this app together. That's not their intent.
That's right. And it was a lot of thought with the CFN team went into that, you know, which app to use. And, you know, there was a lot of back and forth about the pros and cons of it. And, you know, the MyCatch app and Anglers Atlas, which is, you know, they're integrated as one company. You couldn't ask for a better app for what CFN wants to do, you know, and multi-species events, no limit to geography. It's the country of Canada, right? And everyone can go to one place. And I know what it's like to be involved as a volunteer in organizations, and saving, you know, volunteers need time, and it's important to them. And seeing all the entries and seeing them pile in on a Sunday night, you know, I think it's important to remember that the volunteers get burned out too. This is a way to make the fish off and events like it more sustainable long term. That's what I believe.
100%. Absolutely. Great way to end this segment off.
See, I didn't even know we were going to talk about that, but see, I just
100%. I thought we would talk more about what's coming up in terms of target species this time of year. Obviously, the steelhead will be running after the rainstorm and the rain event that's coming to the Southern Ontario area anyway. Can't speak for all those folks up in Northern Ontario. I'm probably sure they're going to be shoveling snow the way things have been going up in the north area. But with the steelhead
around here, things are crazy right now, Scotty. Like
100%.
Spring is still slowly coming. Like we haven't had good spring weather yet. Water temperatures are still behind, no matter what part of the province you're in or what part of the country you're in, for crying out loud. You know, we're getting cats. Cats are running now, starting to, but like the peak cat season hasn't hit yet, you know, and I think it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, looking at the long range temperatures. But, you know, this week, midweek, we're going to see nice temperatures, and then it's going to dip down again next weekend. You know, Easter weekend's a pretty cool weekend. So, you know, I think that things are slowly getting there. Now, I will tell you this, that the Lake Erie trips around here for rainbows, I think that the main run is done. They're still moving, but the major push has gone into the headwaters, and they're doing their thing, and they're going to start dropping back. Lake Ontario trips, they're typically cooler than our Lake Erie trips, so they're a slow run. And quite often, and the reason why I actually don't target steelhead too much in the springtime is because a lot of our local steelhead runs are pretty much winding down by the time opener hits. But Lake Ontario trips, being cooler and a little bit further north, they'll be a good steelhead run right through till the middle of May, if I keep seeing these temperatures the way they are. So, like, we haven't hit any 20-degree days yet. Like, we've barely hit the teens.
Yeah.
And we might have one nice day, then we get snow, for crying out loud. So we're slowly getting there.
But you know, folks have been saying that this has been a very long winter, and I'm not going to argue that point. It has been, but I don't think it's any longer than what I imagined it being back in the day. Like, this is a very typical winter for what we're used to in Southern Ontario. Anyway, I can't speak always to our folks to the north. I know it's maybe a little bit different than what we see down here, but this has been a very typical spring, has it not?
I think it has. I think we just haven't had. We've been basically seasonal. Like, I keep looking at. So what I do, Scotty, is when I go onto the Weather Network or to I like to use AccuWeather as an app on my phone, because the way their app is set up, it actually shows you what the daily history was. So what was the temperature on this day last year, and what's the normal temperature? So you sit there and you're like, Jesus, it's 5 degrees again. When's it going to get warm? They're like, oh, the normal temperature is 6. Well, I guess we're in normal. So I like to look at those long range weather patterns, because to think, am I being greedy here. I want it to be too warm, but we're just basically, I'm going to say the last 2 weeks, at least in Southern Ontario, we've been at or just below seasonal values.
Yep.
And we've had some colder days that are below seasonal, but we haven't had too many above seasonal days. And that's what we need to get things moving. Like there's suckers to be caught now, and there's catfish to be caught now, and trout soon. But we really need some warm weather to get things moving. And we're going to get there. But I think you're right. I think we're probably on par with a fairly normal spring right now.
And you know what? I would say, if I could speak on behalf of the fish, we almost need this gradual increase. We've had such extremes in the last little bit that I want to say the fish, they're almost like stunned. They don't know how to react. But this has been an extremely gradual increase in temperature, something that I would say is very typical for what I remember anyway, how it was in the day. And then, of course, with everything that's going on with global warming, climate change, we are starting to see a lot more of these extremes, and it's good that this year it might be a great hatch. And I'm only speaking for the walleye. This is exactly what we look for. This type of spring is on par.
Yeah, I think so too. And talking with even friends who are trying to catch suckers for their annual catfish cut bait, it's getting a little hard to come by right now because even the suckers aren't running it. Typically, they are running, but everything is just behind. So or it's slow to start. Like if we all of a sudden got 5-6 days of weather in the high teens, low 20s, it would just be a massive push of white suckers and red horse suckers. But these steady temps, at least you hit it right there. Steady temps are good.
Yeah.
So so weather temps hurt the spawn. Weather swings do, but these steady temperatures are good. I do believe that. And I think that it just kind of prolongs things a little bit. Like right now, we have friends who are out. I got friends who are catching crappie right now. Not in high numbers, but they're producing fish in southwestern Ontario. The yellow perch bite on Lake Erie here is a bit slow to start. It's getting there. It's because the temps haven't just warmed up enough yet. We need another week or two.
But, I think we're getting impatient as anglers. That's all it is. It's been such a winter. We're getting impatient.
We are. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, we haven't done a lot of fish in the last few weeks. We've had some illness with the house and busy with other things. And to be honest, Scotty, like I'm putting waders on Thursday and I'm going seining with the Royal Ontario Museum. I got to get back to work, like normal work, right? So I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff done around here so that when my busy season picks up, and I expect to be on the road a ton this year, getting back to what I've been doing my whole life, right? So
we love you for it, Jay. Thanks for that effort, and I speak on behalf of the community when we say thank you for all you do. Roselle, the Prairie Girl up there, 30 years starting tomorrow. They're calling for the largest, biggest snowstorm to hit that area. So you talk about extremes. Our beloved Roselle is going to be experiencing it tomorrow.
So in my line of work, like being federal, we actually the main hub. So I work out of Burlington, the Center for Inland Waters. That's an Environment Canada building, but Fisheries and Oceans is who I work for. The main hub for us for Fisheries and Oceans in the region is Winnipeg, which is the Freshwater Institute. So a lot of our colleagues there, and Heather also works at Fisheries and Oceans. Boy, we've been hearing, stories of these 30 to 50 centimeters, possible up to 80 centimeters with, 70 and 80 kilometer per hour winds.
Yeah.
So when I hear that, and I hear that we might see scattered flurries on Easter weekend again around here, I can still go fishing. Because, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to be in Winnipeg. I hate to say that. I'm not going to knock my pegger friends, but geez, that's a tough pill to swallow.
That is a really tough pill to swallow. And as impatient, Alicia, yes, absolutely, we're impatient. We can't wait to get out in that beautiful weather. But as Jay just mentioned, and I don't want to rub Roselle's nose in it by any means, but yeah, my thoughts are with you. I can't imagine that's just a huge bump on the road right there.
But one thing, regardless of what happens this weekend, I have to encourage anyone who's watching the show right now who's going to go trout fishing. This is your weekend to go scout. It is truly your weekend to get out there. And I know Steve Shaw, we've been having some good trout talk on the last couple of weeks. So let me put this plug in there, and I'm going to do this on behalf of Steve, but I hope everyone else is listening. The number one, and I actually talked to a conservation officer friend of mine, the number one complaint that conservation officers typically get, especially this time of year, is trespassing. And they can charge trespassers, okay? I'm not saying Steve's going to trespass, but it's a good time of year to go out, renew your landowner contacts, check the creek you want to fish or the creeks you want to fish. We've had a ton of water this past winter, a lot of high flows, a lot of ice. So your trout streams, what used to be a great hole last year might be terrible right now, and there could be new spots. You might have to figure out what side of the river do I want to access from to get to the best angle for that drift. Doesn't matter whether you're going to fish a brook trout, brown trout, steelhead. Doesn't matter. This is the weekend to go scout your spots, get yourself laid out so that when you go in there on trout opener morning and it's 5 a.m. and the turkeys are gobbling and the robins are calling, you're going to get to your spot. And like, man, I just blew the first hour because I wasn't prepared. I have to completely change my plan because all my spot has been, winter ruined it. Okay. So this is the weekend to get your stuff ready, get out there and go check your spots and renew your landowner contacts, and make sure they know that you're coming in. Now, turkey season, turkey opener and trout opener usually overlap on the same weekend. I'm not exactly sure the exact date of turkey opener down here, but I know that turkey hunters will be out on trout opener weekend as well. So we have to give them respect too. So
okay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When it comes to renewing your relationships with the landowners, some advice for those maybe like the Mike Howards of the world who like to do some stream fishing. Maybe Jeremy's into it as well. But I know there's a few of them that are on this live tonight. How do you go about approaching a landowner to gain access?
Really, so there's a couple ways you can do it. One thing to do is just, try and figure out who owns the property. Okay. And that might be tricky. Okay. So you might have to go door knocking to try and figure that out. And the trouble too, Scotty, is the land ownership changes hands so much, especially in rural Ontario, where you have farms are bought and sold. Sometimes the owner doesn't even live on the farm anymore. Just the farmer who's actually tilling the land on that day you drove by could actually be renting the land. The owner might not even live locally at all. So put some time in to figure out who owns the property. Make sure you've communicated with them. Sometimes areas that used to be accessed for fishing are now posted. It doesn't mean the landowner doesn't want you. I know examples around here, for example, where it'll say no trespassing. But if you go talk to the landowner, they'll let you in because they're more concerned about they don't want hunters. A big one around here, Scotty, actually is ATVs.
Yeah.
People just tearing up people's property with all-terrain vehicles. And that's actually ruining it for a lot of anglers out there. So it's just so important to show up and, just offer your name, where you live, especially if it's a place that you've been going to, as part of your life. Explain I have no problem saying, hi, I'm Jason. This is my son, Trevor. I used to fish this creek when I was growing up. Haven't been here for a few years. Do you mind if I fish here? And sometimes, and I'm going to be honest, it's if anyone's done sales work before, you're going to get more turnaways than people shaking your hand and letting you in. It just prepare yourself for that. But find the spots and then communicate with those people and, pick up some garbage by the roadside ditch and, and maybe a bottle of whiskey goes a long way. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like sometimes let's be realistic out here. Yeah. J Pierce says gift cards, beer store. Do things that are nice for them. The trouble is that some people get confused about this, crown land, high water mark. Can I go in the creek if I'm in the creek? Listen, here's the thing. For most land in southwestern Ontario or southern Ontario, so south of Algonquin Park, where there's not very much crown land, if you're in the creek, chances are you're on private property if you're touching the stream bed. If you can canoe it, that's fine. Most of the creeks around here, with the number of log jams, I'm not canoeing that, man. I'll have the big one 5 times before I get to the next concession, right? So it's so important that you can't access their property without permission. If they turn you away, that's fine. But, you know, some of the fines out there are my CO friends, you know, we're under the Fish and Conservation Act. Trespassing is like, I think it's $250 now, plus the tax.
Yeah, I think it's even gone up. It starts at 250 and I think it can go up to 1,500.
Yeah. So, you know, it's so important to not only for yourself, but you are representing all of us when you go to someone's property. Okay. And you need to present yourself in a way that allows people, that gives them the respect of anglers. So please think about that when you're out and about. And, you know, I've made mistakes in the past of going onto a property. I can remember a trout opener, many, many, many years ago, where, you know, the farmer said, get to the end of the road, keep walking straight down the path. And when you get to this tree, kind of turn left. Well, we're walking in there at 4 a.m. or 3:30 in the morning, and it's pitch black. And we turned right instead of left. And boy, we had a really tough run-in with that landowner. And we were literally 30 yards or 40 yards from the boundary line, like from the property line. We didn't know. We just did not know. And my lesson was, and we didn't do it deliberately. I literally thought we were in the right spot, my group that we were with. I've learned that you need to go scout the spot before you go the morning of. Like, that is just the best advice to give.
So there you go. This will be a great weekend. You have at least 3 days. Some folks have 4 days off to do it, but this is the time. Take advantage.
This is it. And if you want to go fishing this weekend, you know, crappie's going to be turning on down here in the south. Pike fishing is going to be starting to pick up soon. Channel cats are on the move. Suckers are on the move. So if the weather does hold a little bit this weekend, it's going to be a good weekend to get out. But go for a walk of the stream. I'm going to tell you, I will be. I need to go check some spots because I got a couple brown trout that I need to that I missed last year on opener. I need to go revisit.
I love seeing you know, all the folks, all our CFN folks posting sucker catches, because usually if they're catching suckers, it means the walleye are right behind them. So I love seeing the beginning of what is the spring run. Obviously, it starts with the steelhead, and it comes up with the suckers. But as I said, walleye are soon to follow. But I think it's going to be a banner crop. I think we're setting ourselves up to have a great spawn, as long as we don't have any massive, you know, rain events after the spawn takes place, so that you know, sediments up the rivers. But I think we're on par for a great spawn.
Yeah, you know, we've had good rain this spring. The rivers are a little bit low right now, but not too bad. The fish are still moving, like at the Ganaraska Fishway, they're moving. They're moving on the Credit. Locally here on Big Creek, they're moving too. Like I said, the local run here, the big push has gone through. I've been super busy with work. I haven't been down to the creek to help much with the guys, but I get reports. And you know, but again, that's why I'm gonna go out this weekend and scope it out for myself. So, but I wanted to add before we close out tonight, just a couple things about trout fish and tackle, because I get a lot of questions about this, and I've had some questions this week. You know, people are asking me, what kind of rods do I use when I'm out chasing for brown trout in the spring, which what I like to chase. There's kind of two schools of thought on this. The one side is I want to go ultra light because it's a lot of fun. Okay. So a nice 5.5 to 6 foot ultra light rod. And you don't want to go too beefy, or you kind of lose the fun of a smaller fish. Yeah. However, when you're fishing some of these creeks, especially the creeks that I fish, there's a lot of wood and a lot of debris, and you got to kind of horse these things out. And I've already talked about, like, you know, all my favorite spinners. I like to use all my Panther Martin spinners. But, you know, my favorite rod for brown trout fishing in a small stream, if I'm throwing spinners, is a 6'6" light. And people think that's pretty long. But what I like about the 6'6" light, Scotty, is that it actually has like some good backbone in here. Okay. So it's such a difference. It's such a different rod than just a 6 or a 5.5 ultralight. I'm not going to horse that 20-inch brown trout out of a log jam with a 5.5 foot ultralight rod. It will not happen. It will not happen. And now what's nice about going with a 6.5 or even a 7 foot light rod is some of the creeks I'm fishing still have drop back rainbows in them. They will come trout opener. I'm not targeting them, but if I hook into a 6, 7, 8 pound steelhead, I still have enough rod to deal with it. And typically what I'm running braid, like 10-pound fire line. And I'll run straight braid. I don't need a leader. Those fish are coming out. They're attacking the hardware. I don't need to finesse them. And what the thing about the running straight braid too is on the small spinners is the hooks are fine wire hooks. So if you get snagged, you have a really good chance of just pulling that bait back and bending that hook out so you get your lure back. You get your $5 or $6 spinner back as opposed to losing it. So, 6.5 foot light or a medium light rod, and going with braid. And I'm just going to balance it with that's whatever reel you want to use, whatever balances that this Fluger President just pairs up well with that. This is a Fenwick. No, this is my baby. I don't even let Trevor touch this rod because he touches it. So this is my Fenwick HMG. Like, dude, I got some serious wear on that rod. Like, I just love this 6.5 foot Fenwick HMG rod, and that's my brown trout special right there. So
now, sorry, Jay. Last question before we go, Christina. I'm gonna pose it in this kind of scenario, Christina. If you had 3 baits, only 3 baits, and only one color. So as I said, if you had 3 slots in your tackle pack that you had to fill, what would the baits be in each of those 3 slots?
Okay. All right. So we're talking. Are we talking spring trout?
We're talking spring rainbows. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna bring them out. I'm gonna bring them out right here because I've been getting all my stuff ready behind me, Scotty. So, all right. I'm gonna bring number 1. This is not in order of favorites. Okay. Number 1, quick fish.
Quick fish. Yes.
Okay? Number 1 is a quick fish. I like dark colors, so that's like a brown, that's like a black and red color. Like if the water's dingy though, like some of these, like those frog patterns, and I can still fish that on that smaller rod, no problem. But it's really hard to beat the skunk. I love that skunk color. So quick fish. Okay, number 1, quick fish.
Skunk colored quick fish. Number 1.
Skunk colored quick fish. Okay, number 2. If I'm chasing brown trout, it's a number 6 Panther Martin.
I would say Mike Howard would agree with you.
Number 6 Panther Martin
would probably agree with you. I don't know too many people that would argue that. Yes, Panther Martin.
If you're a steelhead person and you want a little bit more weight to cast, if it's a larger river, we're just talking hardware for spring trout, for brown trout, you can go with that extra long. Now, Scotty, I got a whole pack of them over here, and you can't go wrong with this because I buy these things. I literally buy them in bulk, and I buy them every time I see them, not just because of
pink worm. Yes.
Yeah. The thing about trout opener is that regardless of what species you're after, trout, brown trout, brook trout, or steelhead, it's really hard to beat a pink worm. But I'm going to give everyone a tip with the pink worms. Okay, so everyone uses these, and actually I've already ruined this one. Well, I'll try and show you guys how I do it. So when you look at these pink worms, they're segmented, right? That's where you break them off. Okay, so I've already cut that one up. I'm going to try to find another one. This is a tip I actually got from a buddy who does a lot of steelheading with these, and this has worked really well for me. Okay, so there's the worm. That's the thick part. There's a thin part right there. You usually break that off. So there's 1 worm, 2 worm, 3 worms. Okay. What you want to do is go past the thick part, and you want, so Scotty, see how there's 2 thick parts in either finger?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to have your pink worm with the thick parts on each end.
Oh.
Because when you I will wacky rig it like I'm bass fishing, is what I'm doing. And when you have the thick parts on each end, you get a little bit more action out of that pink worm. and it makes it makes it a little bit longer. So instead of these are supposed to be 3-inch, it makes it about a 3.5 inch. But I find I get a little more action out of that pink worm if I set it up that way. But just a pink worm under a float, and it doesn't matter what species of trout you want to catch, and you can cut this down to size. If I'm going for brook trout, I'm just going to go with a smaller hook and a smaller section of worm, and I'll run it under a float is what I'll do.
And I would imagine, like Eric is asking, probably a better hook set with that kind of setup as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're running hooks for that, use a snelled hook. Use a snell hook. I find with a lot of my live bait fishing, I don't care whether it's catfish, suckers, carp, but especially for trout, if I'm going to be running pink worms, and we'll do a little bit more trout baits next week because we're going to talk a little more about steelhead. But if I had to pick, one bait to use for all those species, it's that pink worm on a snelled hook, and you're probably going to go with a number 8. I go a little bit bigger. Like if I'm running a roll bag, I'll probably run a size 10 or 12 hook, but a good size 8 hook on a pink worm is just great. And especially around opener, because we have a lot of clear water, Scotty. Like we usually don't have dirty water on opener. Usually opener is low and clear, and that pink worm just gets it done with that snelled hook. And the thing about the snelled hook is it helps you turn that fish. It really, really does. And Roger Hinchcliffe on Steelhead Manifesto on his YouTube channel, he talks a lot about snelling hooks and the difference between a snelled hook and a Palomar hook. But basically with a snelled hook, I can turn that fish on a pretty weak rod, really comparatively. I can control that fish a lot better on a snelled hook, and you'll get better hook sets. So, but trying to tie a snelled hook on a snell knot on a tiny hook, that's a challenge.
I can imagine.
That's where you try it at home. So the Leafs are on a roll. The Jays are on a roll. Get in front of your TV, crack a drink, get your hooks out, get a spool of line, practice tying your snell knots before you go out and you need to tie them. So,
and just to recap, of course, the 3 top baits that Jason Barnews would take out, targeting rainbow trout this time of year, skunk-colored quickfish, a small panther, inline spinner, and of course, you can't go wrong with the pink worms with the snelled hook. Jay, as always, my friend, you are a wealth of knowledge. We thank you for every Monday that you stop by and all the Mondays that are still to come. Just keep doing what you do, bud, and we just sit back and are in awe and are honored to be part of the audience, to say the least.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Right on. Take care, Jay. Thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight. Again, a great show, and it's a great show because of you folks who come and join us. Again, stay tuned to the post that you're going to see this coming week in regards to the outdoor flavor contest. Again, the Shaw family have very generously offered up a free stay at our Camp McIntosh OFC Nation retreat that's going to be going on in September. It is a new flavor. It is a unique flavor, and it's exclusive to CFN. So stay tuned to that. Make sure you make a post, because if we pick your recipe, your name, your idea, you're going to be coming with us to Camp McIntosh, and we look forward to that. So on that note, we have pretty much covered everything we could possibly cover. I'm going to leave it to the one and only Dave Mercer to take us away.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.